Idea. In this section, we'll be looking at creating the idea behind our posters. When I'm working, I think about what will effectively engage people in conversations that they might not otherwise have about topics like Black histories, gender and sexuality, and disability. In order to create the poster, I would like you to think about what is important to you. What issues would you stand up for? What is it that you would like to say? Try to think about what issues you feel passionately about. This could be, for example, climate justice, or standing up against inequalities such as racism, sexism, or transphobia. I usually start by doing some research on a particular theme, which could be done by reading a book or going online, visiting an archive, or listening to a podcast. I would like you to spend some time thinking about what you want to make work about. Try out different ways to research your topic. I then write out my thoughts about my chosen theme. I make a lot of mind maps when I work. I like to think about the different ways that things are connected. It helps me to understand complex social issues and how I want to visually represent them. I will be focusing on the power of protest, including the Kill the Bill protests that have been happening recently. This year, people all across the UK have been protesting against the Police, Crime, Sentencing and Courts Bill, otherwise known as the PCSC Bill. A bill is a proposal for a new law that is still being discussed in government, so it hasn't come into effect yet. The PCSC bill would give the police additional powers to stop and search people. It would also mean that a person could be imprisoned for up to 10 years for damaging a statue or memorial. The bill also criminalises Gypsy, Roma and traveller communities and homeless people living in vehicles, as it would make it illegal to live in a vehicle on land without permission. The PCSC bill would restrict people's right to protest by measures such as setting noise limits, as well as enforcing start and finish times when protesting. During a Black Lives Matter protest in Bristol last year, the statue of Edward Colston, who profited from the transatlantic slave trade, was thrown into a nearby river. Following this, there were widespread actions and conversations about removing other statues across the UK that glorify people involved in the slave trade. However, if the PCSC bill comes into law, someone could go up to prison for up to 10 years for being involved in an action like the one that took place in Bristol. The slogan, "Kill the Bill," has been used by people before, including in 1971, when people protested against the Industrial Relations Act, which tried to stop workers from being able to strike without the support of a union. Now, people are using it today against the PCSC bill. Many of the rights that we have today were fought for through protest, such as repealing Section 28, which made it illegal for LGBTQ people to talk about their sexuality in local authorities. This meant that if you were a teacher and disclosed that you were gay, you could lose your job for it. Protest has always been a way for people to come together and stand up for what we believe in. And as artists, we can use our creativity to support important issues and help people understand complex topics in a different way. Once I've mapped out my ideas, I sometimes look for visual references, for example, images of crowds of people protesting with placards. If I'm working with a moment from history, I will visit archives and look at historical images to capture other details like how people dressed or what the environment looked like. I want to highlight different kinds of people in my work. I try to speak to what I think people really look like, not just the kinds of people we might see on TV or in magazines. I love thinking about all the ways that our bodies and experiences are different. So once I decide what I will be making my work about and I have done my research, I begin sketching out different things that I might like to include in the image.